What's up?
Yo, I'm back.
Back again.
Guess who's back, baby?
Where'd you go?
Journey.
Did you go to Laracon?
I didn't want y'all to know. But yes, no, it was not. Although it looked really cool.
It did look fun. They have PHP native now. Is that exciting or what? You can write desktop apps or something in PHP now. I think it was. We've just been in the future this whole time in Ruby land, so
Yeah, I guess.
we're okay.
While I was gone, I was out hiking and backpacking in the Grand Canyon with Drew Bragg, who some of you may know from the coders and the code who code. I used to know it. The coding coders and the codes. I give up.
Coding coders and the coders who code the coding coders code.
Yes. Coders who code in the coding code.
Code melon.
Yes. Bum ba dum bum 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 bum. Cocoa melon. But yeah, I've been out touching grass, but it doesn't matter because I came back all refreshed on Monday and I was like, I'm ready to go. Feel great about this
Only
week.
for me to ruin it for you.
And it's Friday and I'm right back where I was right before PTO.
Life comes at you fast.
It does. It hits you like a brick.
I think we can consider this like a scientific experiment. And I think we can scientifically say it takes 5 days to re-burn out after 2 weeks off.
Yes.
It's like riding a bike. Some muscle you build. That's how I feel every time I go on vacation, where I come back and I'm like, all right, time for my real vacation. But now it's back to work.
Depressing. Anyway. Let's move on with y'all.
All right. Well, that's the episode.
Yep. We write code forever.
I haven't written code, it feels like, in a month and a half at work, at least.
Didn't we talk about not managing, Jason?
Yeah. Yeah.
Wow.
So I've been managing projects for the last month.
Oh, it's still managing.
Yeah.
Sounds awful.
Yeah, it's fine.
Yeah, he's got to deal with me every day. Trying to ask him what STI is.
Please consult your doctor.
Pro tip.
Jason Charnes.
Pro tip, do not Google that without putting Rails at the end of it.
Yeah.
Maybe even then.
Yeah.
Yeah. No,
Don't hate Google images.
This will come out next Friday and then it ships Monday. So we can talk about it on the next Remember Me. What we've been
Cooking for this entire year.
Cookers and the cookers who cook it.
Yes, that's it. You got it. I knew it would come to us. Missed opportunity, really.
Yeah, that's
so you're just going to drop a teaser and leave it at that? That's it?
Yes.
That's it.
Big things are happening. If you don't have a Podia account, now is the time to create one, because it would be a shame if you miss out on this insane Rails stuff that we've built. There's Turbo. It's the most advanced Turbo anyone's ever created, and it's so simple. And that's why if you sign up for a Podia account,
it's the most advanced Turbo anyone's ever created, and it's so simple.
I'm trying to do a marketing pitch here, Jason, because I don't know about you, but when Hey launched, I got an account just so I could like log in and check the headers, see what was happening. No?
Yeah.
All right. I guess I'll go back to like writing code and shutting up.
I always just sign up for apps to read the headers.
God dang it. I regret speaking so much.
Yeah. How often do you regret speaking?
It's been a constant issue in my life. I can't tell you how many times the words of "you need to think about your words before you say them" has been said to me. Now, there's not really a buffer between my mouth and like the part of my brain that generates speech. It just kind of flows.
You're just the original Chat GPT.
Yes, basically. Chris, I have a question for you.
What's up?
Me personally, I feel like if I Google Ruby on Rails STI, I feel like a Go Rails video should pop up.
Yeah, good question. Maybe.
Doesn't.
Doubt it. I was going to say, I don't ever really use that feature, so I bet we haven't even covered it, but we should at some point. I think...
Free video idea. I'll take my
feature? I wasn't
check.
listening.
Because I think at some point we'll end up doing like, well, no, that's related or similar, like the delegated type stuff. I've been meaning to do a video on that, which is still not the same, but it's kind of close. Yeah, I'm curious, like the use case that you guys ended up using STI for. We should probably explain what it stands for. Single table inheritance, single table infection, something like that. But anyway,
kind of, because you infect one table with multiple types.
It's kind of like zombie processes, right?
Yeah.
Listen, I don't take like hard stands on anything. I'm like the most uninteresting person in that regard, but I am an STI stan and I will fight for the right to use single table inheritance.
Chris, you don't like STI?
I never ever use it. It's fine, I guess, if you have something that is very similar to another thing. We should probably explain STI to people just if they're not familiar.
Okay, let's go.
Yeah.
So
Let's do it.
you got a thing, a domain object. You got,
Let's give an example. Let's do like a contact.
let's do an address.
Okay, perfect.
Address is good. So you got an address, but the address may represent a different type of address in different settings,
Home address or a business address.
or a billing address or a mailing address. At the core, all those things are the same, except they may have some different functionality.
Like
A
maybe
billing
you don't
address, you
allow a PO box for
Yeah.
certain type of address.
Or maybe with a billing address, you want to include a tax ID because in your tax IDs are part of billing addresses. But for shipping, you don't really care about that. So Rails offers this functionality. I guess this would be considered, there's like a OOP term for this. I can't think of it right now. It's almost like a form of polymorphism.
Yeah, it is very similar.
Maybe polymorphism is what I'm looking for. But in Rails, you can take a single model, and if you add a column called type, it's a string, you can then subclass that model. And as long as the type is a Ruby class that inherits from that, Rails can then, when it instantiates it, if you have this core address model, but maybe you have a type of billing address, which is a class that's class billing address and it inherits from address. When you say address.find and it's actually a billing address, Rails, instead of returning an address, it's going to return a billing address instance. And that is useful because then you may have methods specific to billing address
Stripe
that
stuff.
you can, Stripe stuff that you can ask against this model, messages you can send to it that don't necessarily live on address because they're specific to billing address. So it's just kind of a way to take one base concept and not have to repeat yourself over and over again, or store like, have a billing addresses table, a mailing addresses table. We use it a lot at Podia.
Apparently.
It's not a silver bullet. A lot of people have valid reasons for not liking it, but when it works, and with Rails, you also get some niceties too. Like I have in Job Boardly dashboard events, and that's just an event model. And if it's like a job posted event, well, that's subclass from event. And because of that, I can just say like event.all, render them, and I can use like render events. And because they each have their own type, Rails is going to look for a partial for the type. So like job posted event is its own partial it's looking for. Email sent is its own partial. All I have to do is make sure those partials exist, and Rails will take care of like knowing how to render them. So there's like no conditional logic there. It's good.
Do you ever use it in situations where things like Podia, for example, has lessons for a course, but a lesson could be text, it could be video, it could be a quiz, whatever? Because I think the common question people run into is, okay, an address for shipping and billing is like almost the same exact thing. The events are almost the same exact thing. They are given like a distinctive type in Ruby, which helps differentiate them. But in general, like functionality is, imagine it's probably 95% the same or more. Maybe some cases it's 100% the same, but you have the distinction of the type. When does it break down where like a video lesson and quiz and things are different enough that we wouldn't want to use that?
I have an example from Podia. So we offer different products, right? We offer webinars, courses, digital downloads. Those are all a single table, and we subclass them with STI. But another example is when you go to, like, we have a site builder in each one of our page sections. So like you can have a text section, an image section, you can have a product listing section, newsletter form section. Those are all in a page sections table, and every type of page section subclasses from that. And it works pretty well. We started using it before delegated types was introduced. There's just different cases where we store different data based on the type of section. And instead of adding a column for all that, we have a JSONB column called content. And so each subclass just declares a store assessor for text value, headline, whatever, and it's stored there. But that is a case where like it works pretty well. but it could break down pretty quickly. And like that's where delegated types, which is something you mentioned earlier, might be a better replacement for that. But I also think delegated types introduces a bit of complexity that I'm also scared to take on.
I assume you have to use a store attribute or one of the other gems to do typecasting for your JSON column so that you don't have just a bunch of strings for everything.
We use the store. Yeah, I think it's store attribute, whatever Halcan's gem is.
And that's like only useful for a certain amount of things, I assume, because like say you have a testimonial section, do you just store an array of the testimonial data in that JSON column, or that's one of those
where
I pumped the brakes
on that one, because we actually have associations for that. We actually have.
It's doable because you have like that testimonial section and it's its own class, so you can add a has many
exactly
to it.
And because it's a has many, it's not a belongs to the column. Like the relationship isn't defined on the page section. So that's why like that still works, is because it still doesn't affect the rest of page sections. I guess for me, my rule of thumb is like if you can get by, and I don't have the scientific amount of like, this is too much, too little. If you can get by with using
69%.
Yeah, 69%. Nice. If you can get by using JSONB and you don't need to add a bunch of columns that are specific to a single type, it's great. But like if I needed to add a column for one subclass that wouldn't apply to the rest, it almost feels like this feels dirty now.
It's at that point where you start to need to break into multiple models, separate tables.
Yeah.
You don't have to. I feel like there's this thing where people are like, oh, I don't want my model to have nil values. I don't have a problem with that.
I don't have a problem with having a null value. The argument I have is that it just feels like it doesn't belong. If it's a column, all right, let's take the page section example. If I had a belongs to on the page section, so I needed to store an ID, but that association only made sense on one of the subclasses, it doesn't belong necessarily in the rest of the subclasses, but it's still available.
Isn't that what you told me to do this morning?
No, I told you to do the other example, which is has many or has one. So you're not adding a column. No, I did tell you to do that, but I told you to try and do a JSONB.
When you said that, I was like, wait, what the fuck?
No. So I have this thing I'm going to try, and I don't know if it'll work, and we'll know by next week, where because of this exact situation I'm describing where I don't want that, I want to see if we can add.
No.
Yes.
I know what you're about to say. No, I don't like that.
We talked about this Tuesday.
Not you and me, did we?
Yeah.
Okay, I guess for what I think he's about to say is having the IDs of records in JSON.
Because we don't need the foreign key constraints.
We were talking about this yesterday, and I had this idea completely independently because I don't remember discussing that with you. And I was like, no, this is wrong.
Thanks, Andrew.
So hear me out. If you go down that route, how much further until you end up where you refactor Podia into one table with one JSON column in it, and you just store everything in there? Hell, you could even do it in a single record. Just keep updating that record.
Single record inheritance.
Yeah.
All of Rails when you do that.
It's not a silver bullet, but when you need to have multiple types of one object, I think it's great. The event example I gave from Jobboardly, if you stay within the Rails way of it, like I was talking about rendering and stuff, it just makes it really nice, because with the event example, I use different icons and different styling in each of those like event partials that are rendered. I don't have to have a bunch of conditional logic for that, because Rails is smart enough to know this type needs to render this partial. I just build that template, that partial, how it should look, and Rails handles it. I think it's delightful when it works.
Yeah, it's nice because you end up with these, not exactly types, but more or less is implementing that. And the way that Rails is written, it looks at the current class name, not what you inherited from, to generate the partial paths and stuff. And you more or less get that functionality all done for free, which is great. Because then the delegated types example would be like, you would have like the page sections or whatever, and they would delegate to other tables and effectively like join polymorphically to those. But instead of that, you're able to collapse those together into a single table, as opposed to a page sections plus a text section, video section, testimonial section. Like you'd end up having to create a separate table for every single one of those forever and ever. And that ends up being more and more complexity on the database level because you're maintaining all these new tables and migrations and other things. And if you have a limited set of things, then your delegated types fits better probably. But the STI approach for that is really nice in this example because it's got the simplicity of here's a single table. The page has all these page sections. We don't care that they're actually page sections. We care more that it's almost a concern at a certain point,
exactly,
but it comes back with a table. But they're all page sections. We don't care about that. We know that they fill that interface, but we care more specifically what type of page section they are. So that fits nicely.
Another example that I can give that I just did this week. So in Jobboardly, I'm adding, hold on to your seats, I'm adding filters for looking at jobs. And one of the filters is locations. In order for that to work how I want it to work, I needed to introduce I need to actually start storing locations as their own like record in a database. And so then I have a join table between job and location because a job can have an office location and have one office location. And for remote jobs or hybrid jobs, I have location limits because some jobs are only available to people like North America, Europe, or like very specific hiring things. So a job has many hiring locations. What I did was I added STI to the join table between job and location. And so I have an office location type and a hiring location type. And what that allows me to do is on the job, I can say this has one office location, class name, office location. But essentially now I can be like job.office location. It goes to look for the join table office location record and returns the locations associated to it. And like very little work, just defining relationships and making sure there's a type column and I create the right one.
Yeah, I was just reminded of like, we don't need shipping addresses like built in to Jumpstart, but I added an address model. And rather than doing it, I have to look. There's got to be something now that I'm thinking about it. But I was going to say I named, by default, normally you're going to name your associations has one address or has many addresses or whatever. But I'm pretty sure that I named one of them where it was has one billing address or whatever. And just instead of using STI, because we don't need it, we set it up that way where it was like you can do the query to that table and accomplish the same thing without having to go to find another model. So it's like an even more minimal way to start down that path, but you can absolutely add the type, or you're probably going to need the type in anyways if you've got multiple types of things, but you don't necessarily have to implement the other Ruby classes if you don't want to start with STI, but you can plan for it or whatever ahead of time. And as complexity grows and features or whatever, like tax IDs need to be added to addresses, then like you're ready to go to take the next step and do that kind of stuff. Cause it is like incredibly magical feeling when you're like, oh, it just like instantiated this other class. I think maybe a good example could be that if you had like very specific types of users, you could have a admin user, a business user, a guest user, a whatever user, and they could all be stored in the users table. If you had like a user can only have a single role, you could kind of do that. And then you could almost hard code the like true and false for if they're able to do these things based on that. That could just be right there in your code. Instead of if this, then this, it's basically like define this method. Can they check out? True or false, or, you know, what update the billing or whatever. And it's just like, I love those where you like end up defining a method and it's just like hard coded to true, no logic, because we know we override this method in different places. And it's super awesome to have that class breakdown like that.
That's what a lot of the STI stuff we do is like a base class just defines a bunch of things. It's nil or false. And then it's always false, but we need it to be true. Like you said, you go to the subclass, you override the method to be true.
With no logic. That's the best
No logic.
part.
And another technique we use too is if a subclass needs to implement something, I'll actually raise an error from the base class saying, whoa, we don't know how to do this. Like it's your responsibility to implement this at the subclass level, just as a way to kind of like not
bring your Java back into Ruby a little bit.
It feels Ruby-like, but it is helpful when you work on a team and somebody needs to subclass something.
Well, it's the same thing as having application record and it's got like a flag that marks it as the abstract class where it's like, do not use this directly. And it's like, even though we're not in Java land or anything, we still need those same concepts sometimes. So it makes sense.
It haunts us. It haunts our every waking minute.
Let's take a second to thank our sponsor, Honey Badger. The number one reason startups fail is that they run out of money. There's so many ways for startups to lose money. Downtime should not be one. Recent studies found that downtime can cost $427 per minute for small businesses and up to $9,000 per minute for medium-sized businesses. That's every single minute. That's insane. A monthly subscription with Honey Badger helps you prevent costly downtime by giving you all the monitoring you need in one easy-to-use platform so you can quickly understand what's going on and how to fix it, which helps you stay in business. That is good. Best of all, Honey Badger is free for small teams and setup takes as little as 5 minutes. Get started today at honeybadger.io. That is www.honeybadger.io.
I want to go back to, there's one thing I want to mention about STI is I was talking about like the different location example. So I pulled up the code. So what I do is like I have one job office location and that's the join table. And then I say it has one office through that join table. So that way I can be like job.office and get the location, not have to, it'll implicitly go through the join record. But the inverse of that is nice too. And that's what I wanted to mention is that when I'm assigning the location, I can just be like job.office equals and give it a location record. And Rails is going to create the join record. And because it's through the join table, like the association, it's going to know to instantiate it with that type and save that type of office location. So like I don't have to necessarily be like office location.create job and location. Rails will implicitly set the type for me based on how my associations are set up. And again, that just goes back to that like magic feeling.
That's super handy. Just the like convenience methods of it. It's just like, okay, cool. Let's go do that. We already know the context. That's what you defined. So we'll just use that. That is awesome. I really like that. I think those are the little niceties that make Rails, why we enjoy doing this. Cause it's like, hell, you could be writing assembly and just manually deal with every single situation. But the reason we enjoy this stuff is because we can skip thinking about a lot of these like minute details that are more or less just distractions from what you're trying to accomplish. But other languages or frameworks or whatever want you to be like, let's be explicit about these things and make you type it manually just so you know what you're doing. And it's like, well, we know what we're doing, but do we need to care about these details? Probably not. But sometimes, yes. But this is one of those cases that will take care of it. Yeah, he's an assembly guy. Can tell.
Yeah, I've been writing a lot of shell recently.
Every PR that you make is actually assembly code. It's like got its own C extension and stuff that
I speak 1 and 0 into Siri and it just,
prove it.
No, I don't know what's going to happen. Because now on the latest iOS version and macOS versions, that person can respond to just its name instead of having to use the hey keyword first.
Hey.
And you obviously know I'm on all the beta, so.
Well, obviously.
Dangerously.
Yeah. That's why I call you beta boy.
Yeah, exactly. A little beta boy.
God. I'm glad I have my Fridays suspended with you guys.
Bless. Hashtag bless.
Hashtag bless. Hashtag blessed up.
What did Andrew tell me this week?
I sent you a bunch of British memes.
He sent me a ton of British memes.
Told me I didn't have any. I told you my library is vast and cultured.
Andrew was really kind when I asked to like move this recording up. And he told me that he would go out of his way to accommodate me because while I was out this week, he realized he needed his emotional support developer around as long as possible. So that's my new title at Podia.
Yep.
PSD.
I like it.
Support developer.
Yeah. It was like, there's no one to send this meme to. I feel lost.
Isn't that the truth?
Yeah.
That's why half the internet exists. Just you got to have people to send memes to.
If it wasn't for GIFs and memes, the internet would have shut down.
Yeah.
Probably like mid 2000s.
Yeah.
It's hieroglyphics.
Thank you, 4chan.
No. Moving on. I've never heard anyone thank 4chan for anything. So that was crazy.
Oh, man. It's weird where Reddit's trying to kill itself, and all these things are like going to end up being like an era of the past. It's strange.
I have not used Reddit since they took out Apollo. I like clicked on one or two links from Google and that's it.
Were those links ones where the subreddit was already shut down and you couldn't use the site anyways?
Nah, they're pretty much back up now.
I'm scared to ask what you're using now that you're not using Reddit.
I think it's just waste time otherwise.
The dark web?
Nah, I was doing that in high school.
Which was like last year.
Yeah, so. Yeah, I remember the Tor browser. But nah, not these days.
What's the cool thing these days?
Oh, God.
What other vegetable router is it?
It's the squash, I think, is what we're doing now.
Mm-hmm.
This week I'm into
Are we talking crypto or browsers?
Browsers.
It's hard to keep up.
Tor is the onion router or whatever.
Do y'all know what NFC tags are?
Yes.
Yeah.
I did not know about this.
That was before your time.
Oh boy.
Okay. Well, I thought this was new, so this is good to know. Apparently, you can go on Amazon and get like a box of them for like 50 cents or whatever. And on your like iPhone and stuff, you can set up automations for when you tap an NFC tag. So like if you walk into your bedroom, you could tap your phone on an NFC tag and it could like do something. So like
you should talk to Jamie about this, our CTO, because I'm pretty sure he used to have NFC tag set up. So when he would leave the house, he would scan his phone and see if he was on call or not.
Nice.
I just did it. This is like an interesting thing of like being able to like every time you leave your office, tap your phone. And then you could like start logging more of your activities or like keeping track of kind of like your daily habits.
NFC was approved as a standard in 2003. The initial spec for NFC tags was 2006. So who's a beta boy now?
2006. Ooh.
2003 was 20 years ago.
Oh.
I was going to say, I was like 6.
That's insane.
It's wild. I have big news for y'all, by the way.
Oh, go ahead.
News.
I got +1 on my dev points this week. So now I'm an 11x dev. And I now have foot pedals. I control my computer with foot pedals.
Oh, God.
I saw that.
Yep. I just wanted y'all to know.
Do you have like a clutch and stuff too? Like, do you like
shifter, gear shifter?
Yeah.
He's got a Gran Turismo setup. And so he's got a steering wheel and pedals.
So like when he needs to move the keyboard cursor like left and right, he turns the steering wheel left and right. It's
just
not
a little bit
efficient,
for one.
but yeah.
Yep. This is how I keep
Let me go
myself
to the beginning of the file. Just sit there for 10 minutes.
Oh my God.
Why do I actually want that? That's so cursed that I think that's a fun idea.
The thing is, you need at least 3 of those curved 45-inch monitors to surround you in VIP.
So I've switched to 4K monitors because one of my monitors died.
8K is the cool thing now, obviously.
Okay, yeah.
You have 4,000 monitors?
I have several monitors, actually.
He has 4 monitors shaped like Ks.
I'm so triggered that Chris just said that because the entire time I was buying these monitors, I'm like, someone was like, you should just get like this really expensive monitor. I'm like, I don't want to pay that much for a monitor.
Oh, you didn't want to be in the beta?
No.
Yeah, you're not a beta boy.
No.
I'm going to spend the rest of my life just proving that you said that you love being in betas.
Oh no. I'll have to see some internet lore
he's
on
gonna
why that's a
move
bad
up
idea.
He's going to have to move to RC boy.
We're going to accidentally get a new audience.
No,
Alpha boy.
He's
Alpha 1, Alpha 2.
Sounds more like Boomer boy.
Boomer boy. I do yell.
Adopting stuff late, like NFC tags.
Yeah, apparently.
Like 4K monitors.
4K monitors, yeah. Man's got CRT monitors, thinks he's hot shit.
I don't even know what that is.
Oh, damn.
One of those projector TVs, those massive ones. We never had one of those. We weren't cool
didn't
enough.
either. But projectors are so cheap now. We have 2, and we have spent $200, $100 on each. And like,
it's crazy.
Put one in the boys' bedroom. We brought one to Chris's house.
Yeah.
When we were there a couple weeks ago, and we just, in the room we stayed in, Shane and I just projected Ted Lasso on the whole wall. It's wild.
Yeah. Hotel de Oliver.
Yes.
Yo, you got a BYOP.
I did not expect you to say that. That caught me off guard. I almost choked on what I was eating at the moment. Good one. Bring your own projector. It's amazing. With all the tech in your house, you got to bring your own projector. And this man's got, I see that stand-up light you got back there.
Yeah, the Govee.
Yeah, I've looked at those
it's
before.
Not bad.
What
They're
is
not
it?
bad. It's just an LED strip on a metal bar, basically.
I thought it was a different one.
You can like do all the fancy colors and whatever on it, but you can like build your own with a little WLED board pretty easy, but then you got to get a track to put it in and cut the track and all that stuff and the diffuser and whatever. And I was like, let's buy one.
Me and Andrew once sat in Chris's theater and watched videos.
Greatest video of all time. I sent you a picture of that today because I had to go find it for some other reason, and I needed to make sure that it stayed forever.
Okay, the video is called "Did Basecamp Just Kill Rails?" Why did you need to go find that for another reason?
It was because of the thumbnail. I think I was talking to someone, and I was like, "If you want to be a real YouTuber, you have to create thumbnails like this."
I mean, we sat there and watched all the videos like that we could find on Rails.
Dude, I'll link it in the show notes. The video itself is not good. It's the thumbnail that's interesting.
It's a banger.
It is a banger for that reason.
It's a dumpster fire.
It's a great thumbnail. Big thumbnail energy.
Chris wasn't even there with us, just shooing me.
Yeah.
Yeah. I remember I came in and I was like, what the hell are you guys doing?
It was you, me, and my children watching Rails videos. Yeah.
Give me a backup plan if this STI thing doesn't work today.
You're going to make STI videos?
Yeah. I'll just be like, did DHH just kill STI? And it'll be like a big picture of DHH with like a cross on it. And be like,
and your shocked face.
Yeah. And my mouth will be open because even though some people think that's beneath them, I personally think that's just YouTube. So yeah, I'll be.
What will your hands be doing? Okay, there we go. He's got his hands by his face, arms up.
Yeah.
I really hope this silence doesn't get cut out because it was uncomfortable for us just sitting here watching Andrew do all the faces that you can't hear.
The silence must be cut.
It'll get. Paul, please keep it in.
Nope, he can't because it automatically gets cut.
Well, there was one time
where we specifically talked about it. You said a word, and we
can always edit silence back in. That's got to be the easiest editing too.
I said that my word is. And I said, but then I'm concerned that it's going to get edited out with the automatic tool. So please.
Yeah. Yeah. I'd be like, Paul, can you please add more silence to this?
More silence. Can you add more likes and ums back in?
Yeah.
That's a good tool we should do is just have a audio tool that just injects crap into the audio, makes it worse. Yeah.
Well, now that I have this pedal, it acts as a soundboard. Like I have soundboard features.
Does.
So
does it have an NFC tag on it?
No, that's so 2006.
Here, if I put my phone on the floor, we could do that. That's a good idea. So I have an idea for an iOS app. It can be a wireless pedal for your computer, and you just like hit it with your foot, and we'll use the gyroscope.
Become a toe developer. Dude, I'm programmable keys for your toes.
Did you guys have TI 8384 calculator in school? I downloaded because I was like programming on there. You just reminded me for whatever reason that I downloaded an app that would let you rotate it instead of being vertical with the screen there. You could turn it sideways. You could kind of squeeze your fingers in to actually make it like a QWERTY keyboard sideways. And then they would like figure out how to render text sideways on the screen, which it wasn't really like designed to do. But that's how hardcore I was trying to like type with a full keyboard on my calculator. That was wild.
This guy's a freaking nerd.
Oh yeah. I had tried to teach myself assembly to like build a program editor on the calculator because like the normal program editor was like the large text, and when you're doing graph mode it has like a very small text mode, and I just wanted to see more code. So I was like, I'm going to see if I can build like a text editor in the tiny fonts, and I didn't know squat about assembly or any of that stuff. So it never really made it very far, but I managed to draw a start menu and make one of the buttons open the start menu and you could scroll through the selected items. But that was about as far as I got, which was totally not useful to the, the text editor at all. It was just one of those, you know how you get into like, I want to go do something that I don't have any idea how to do. And you get off on one of those side quests because you're like, oh, this is interesting. And I have no idea even how to begin this hard project. So
I don't know what that's like.
I am so lost. I've never been on a side quest.
Just go straight to the finish line.
God, you're just describing my life, except the main quest never happens. It's just like NPC walks up to me and is like, would you like to help me find these robbers? And I'm
what
like,
if,
yes.
Hear me out. What if you are the NPC?
You want to talk about simulation theory, bro?
Nope. Do not want to do that. Do you want to figure out who rang your doorbell earlier?
The person who delivers my meals for the week.
What did you get for your meals? How many McNuggets did you get?
Not enough.
DoorDash. He orders it for the whole week.
Yeah.
Refrigerates it.
Reheat the chicken nuggets every day.
Oh.
No, I use Blue Apron, which I've been pretty happy with. And I've tried a few other ones, but because it's so hot here, like they ring the doorbell.
Whoa. They don't sponsor. They sponsor other podcasts. You can't just talk about Blue Apron without a sponsorship.
No, it's usually not Blue Apron that's on the podcast. It's usually HelloFresh,
which is a Rails app. So like, send us money, please. Thank you.
Yeah, maybe we'll unbleep that name later. I would love to have
a sponsorship by a meal company. That would be great.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah, I did Blue Apron. We used HelloFresh for a long time and then kind of got in the same rotation of things. And we're like, oh, let's try something else. Blue Apron was good. I like them too.
Yeah.
Haven't really been disappointed by any of them, but we just like ran out of time when we're like busy in the evenings trying to feed Jackson and stuff where he's like throwing a fit. His favorite's Ritz crackers. So like,
same.
That'll be our next meal delivery service from Costco. Bring him a giant box of Ritz crackers for the week.
Ritz are good. He made a good choice.
Yeah, he's got good taste.
That's weird.
He's going to be sponsored by Ritz.
Got him.
Influencer. This kid stays at the Ritz-Carlton for free, boy.
Damn. See ya.